The Detroit Lions are building something. Their defense struggled greatly last year, and that was one of the main reasons why they didn't make the playoffs. However, they're definitely looking up. Their last 3 games of the season were impressive defensively, and they added way more defensive talent over the offseason. With the addition of gardner-johnson from the Eagles, that was the biggest add to their secondary. And they even shipped off Jeffrey Okudah because they are confident in their abilities. But why am I so excited about the Lions secondary? They also drafted Brian Branch, a safety nickel hybrid out of Alabama in the 2nd round. He is extremely talented, and I'm going to look at how he's going to fit into the system, as well as what the Lions did to find success at the end of the year, and how they can replicate that success with Brian Branch. Let's get into it. What's up, guys? I'm Tyler Coker, and I'm your host for today's episode of Today with Tyler. I hope you enjoy. The Lions' defense was not good last year. Not only was it gashed by the run game, but its young core of DBs were getting shredded. The Lions gave up 245 passing yards per game, which was 30th in the NFL, only ahead of the horrendous Tennessee and Minnesota secondaries. If you take out their last 3 games, which we will look at in a moment, the Lions would have given up 265 yards a game, which is an insurmountable challenge for the Lions' offense to outscore. However, in their last 3 games of the season, the Lions only gave up 156 yards a game, which would have been first by a long shot if they'd get that production up. Naturally, the Lions won't be able to bring such a suffocating secondary into 2023, but let's look at what worked for the Lions so that they can replicate their success at least somewhat. After charting every passing snap of the last 3 games, one key tendency was noticed. In the 55 passing snaps the Lions' defense took, 72.7% were man coverage looks. To be more specific, 61.8% were single high man coverage looks, like cover 1. The Lions excelled in man coverage. Their man coverage was helped by their defensive line developing into a good unit. And in their last 3 games, the Lions jumped to an 11.39 sack percentage, which would have been the highest in the league. They won't be able to maintain such high numbers, though, as the Eagles' deep defensive line barely stayed at 11%. But that kind of improvement is exactly what the Lions need if they want to continue to call aggressive coverages in 2023. With Aiden Hutchinson poised for another full season of development, the Lions can bank on continued pressure, which helps the coverage be aggressive to stop the air attack. While they were creative with their looks, combining all sorts of principles to make sure they weren't too predictable, the Lions have begun to find an identity. On offense, they are a high-powered unit. On defense, they are a fast, aggressive secondary that will press receivers and stay hungry. Not only does the identity fit the culture Dan Campbell has built in Detroit, but it fits the strengths of their players, which is best exemplified by their rookie 2nd-round selection, Brian Branch. Branch is a stud safety from Alabama who will likely play a nickel corner role in their aggressive single high man system. He's extremely good in off-man coverage, which is useful for the Lions to mask their coverages by aligning Branch further from his man, like in a safety shell. He's willing to be physical and off coverage, which will fit the new Lions defense extremely well. He's a valuable tackler from the slot and the box, which brings value to a very difficult position in the nickel corner. He can even line up in the box in extremely light packages, which is a nice amount of versatility to build a new era of Detroit. He's also extremely smart and can read plays as they develop to fly to the ball and make crucial plays for the defense. Let's take a look at a play that could very well happen in Detroit. Branch is lined up over the slot, which he would likely roll into at the NFL level, but the play would be the same responsibility. At the cut of the route, Branch plants his feet and flips his eyes toward the quarterback, allowing him to diagnose the play while his elite recovery speed keeps his receiver blanketed in coverage. Branch sees the ball coming and, using that recovery speed, throws himself in front of the wide receiver to make a tremendous pass breakup. Plays like this are going to be common for Branch, who will likely be dependent on to silence the slot completely with his ball skills and coverage ability. Detroit is finally looking up defensively. Brian Branch is going to fit in very well, and while he won't find immediate all-time playing time because he does have Gardner-Johnson, who has a very similar role, he's going to have a great mentor, and he's going to be way cheaper in the coming years, whereas Gardner-Johnson is much more expensive. The The Lions have finally built a good unit. I'm excited to see how they come together, because now they have a defensive and offensive identity. It's about time we saw something good happening in Motown, and I'm excited to see what they can do this year with a division that's pretty wide open. Thank you for listening, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.